Okay na kayo? So, let's start? Okay. So, we're through with major. Tapos na tayo ng minor and then rest and recit, no? So, let's go to the fourth component, which is direct retainers. Okay, wait lang. Yung slides, show ko lang. Okay. So what is a direct retainer, no? So this is actually a mechanical device, no? Which is the component of your RPD, and the purpose of the direct retainer is to prevent reasonable dislodging forces, no? So actually, as I've said kanina, we don't have to rely too much on the direct retainer kasi there are other ways by which we can get retention, no? Like for example, di ba, how come ang CD you don't have class, pero we still are able to retain, no, your dentures, and usually yung denture base also help in the retention, no? Like in CD, di ba, retention is basically based on in a complete denture, what usually provides for retention, it's the denture base, no? So we can also use the denture base for additional retention, no? Especially kapag distal extension, no, yung parallelism. So maraming maraming way to retain, no? Not only through the clasp or through the direct retainer. These are mechanical devices, no? And as mentioned kanina, we have different types of direct retainer. It could either be intracoronal or extracoronal. And this is the claimed advantages of an intracoronal. So of course, aesthetics, no, kasi you don't have clasp arm, no, because ang attachment mo is actually found on the crown. So in terms of aesthetic, it's more aesthetically acceptable, no? But nowadays hindi na rin I don't know, pero parang it's not as because it's a little expensive eh. So it's not anymore very common, no, yung intracoronal. Dati before, kasi nga ayaw ng patient doesn't like clasp, so sometimes with no choice, no, you have to do intracoronal. But now so many options, di ba? Like meron tayong yung flexible, no? So that lessens, no, in terms of aesthetics, no? So aside from that, another advantage is supposed to provide better cross arch stabilization, and according to those who are proponent of the intracoronal, is usually better ang direction ng forces, no? They direct forces more towards the center of the tooth. Okay. However, marami siyang disadvantages, no? Yeah. Kasi unlike your clasp, you don't need to do anything on the abutment, diba? Just take an impression, put your clasp. Here, it will require, you have to put a crown on the abutment tooth or the abutment teeth, no? Usually, naglulusen din siya. So, just like your clasp, since it's more expensive because the clinical work, usually it's more difficult, and it's actually impossible to repair. Ang mahirap with the internal attachment, pair kasi yan eh, the key and the keyway. So if you change the key, you have to change the keyway, no? So that's why it becomes more difficult to repair, more expensive to do that, no? In cases wherein you need to repair your intracoronal. Okay? So what is more probably, no? Yung extracoronal, yung clasp, retain. No? So alam naman natin anong advantages ng clasp, di ba? Easier, not very complicated complicated ang procedure, no? So, however, may mga disadvantage din, no? And these are the most common disadvantages, no? Although disadvantages is usually associated yan, no? Talagang kasama yan sa clasp, but we can actually minimize, di ba? no? So, nami-minimize naman, if not totally remove or totally not experience, no? But nami-minimize. Okay? One is yung caries, di ba? Yan yung ayaw ng patient, kaya ayaw ng patient ang may kawit. So, because of the caries, no? And usually, oral hygiene lang naman ang katapat niyan, di ba? Proper oral hygiene, no? How to take care of their dentures, no? So, nami-minimize naman yan. No? Although, wag niyong sasabihin sa patient that, don't tell the patient that this is not true. No, hindi yan totoo. Totoo yan. No? Sabihin, Dok, ayoko ng kawit kasi nasisira yung ipin na kinakapitan. Di ba? That's the usual complaint, no? So, don't say it's not true because it's true. But we can minimize, di ba? And you need, kaya nga may oral hygiene, no, proper design. No? So, nami-minimize naman siya. No? And then, of course, aesthetics. No? And nasa design yan. No? It can become aesthetically acceptable depending on how you design it. And the other is too strain. Strain is too often placed on the abutment. As I've said kanina, no? If there is a component ng RPD which is or which can actually remove a tooth, it's your clasp, especially the retentive teeth. No? So after 6 months, you ask the patient, "Oh, how come you're not wearing your denture na?" Kasi it's, no, masakit eh. No, okay, sasabihin ng patient, "Doc, I tried to wear it for 1 week, pero yung tooth ko becomes sensitive. When I brush, it becomes sensitive, no? And it's moving a little, no? Baka mamaya matanggal na yung ipin, no? So this can be prevented if it's properly designed. Talagang it happens, no? But it can be actually minimized, no? By making sure that you design your class properly. Okay? Okay, no? So, di ba, when we design, very important that we survey. So if there is a component which relies or where surveying is very important, it's the direct retainer or the clasp, no? And dapat hindi tayo we don't design yung clasp until after we survey. Okay? Because it's the survey line or the height of contour which will determine the proper position of our clasp or the clasp, no? And we know what is the height of contour. Okay? And this is this survey line or height of contour. This is where cervically directed surfaces of the tooth, no, and occlusal surfaces usually meet. Di ba ang tooth natin merong surfaces that goes towards the occlusal. We have surfaces that goes towards the cervical. Where the two surfaces meet is called the height of contour. Or when we survey, this is called the survey line. No? Areas above the survey line are called non-undercut area or suprabulge. Areas below are undercut area or infrabulge area. Or this is we're more familiar with the definition. The height of contour is where it represents the biggest mesiodistal bid of the tooth viewed from a specific angle. Kasi nag-iiba ang height of contour, di ba? If you view the tooth differently. Pag ibang position ng tooth, nag-iiba ang survey line. Okay. So, there are several ways of classifying clasp. One is based on the material that is used or the metal that is used to fabricate the clasp. It can either be gold or yung chrome alloy, yung white metal that you use ko. Kasi gold is very expensive, but it's very good for a clasp. Maganda ang gold, kaya lang it's so expensive, no? If it's made of gold or if it's made of chrome alloy, the white metal, usually casted yan. Kaya nga, di ba, you make wax pattern, no? Ginagawa niya ng wax pattern and then it's casted. So it's casted. So you have casted clasp. Yung tawag nila yung casted clasp. And casted clasp can either be made of gold or it can be made of white metal. Yung chromium alloy. Chromium cobalt alloy. No? And then you have wrought wire. No? So wrought wire yung medyo binibend lang. So based on the material, it's either casted or is it wrought wire. The more common way of classifying clasp is based on how it approached the undercut area. So any undercut that comes from above the survey line going down, it's called circumferential. So if the clasp comes from up or approaches the undercut from above the height of contour, it's called circumferential. If the clasp approaches the undercut from below the survey line, we call it vertical projection clasp. So we also call it infrabulge clasp, or you call it bar type clasp. So these are suprabulge. Any clasp that comes from up, pababa towards the survey line. Diba? We call it circumferential. If the clasp comes from below, going up, it's called infrabulge. Usually in an infrabulge or vertical projection, may approach arm. And the retentive tip of the bar clasp is attached to the approach arm. I think that's clear. No? Okay. Let's go to the parts of the clasp. No? So you have so basically in a circumferential clasp, you have these parts. No? You have your rest, and the rest, as we mentioned kanina, the rest provides for support ng clasp. And if it's part of the clasp, it's called a primary or principal rest. And what's the purpose? It maintains your clasp in its proper position. No? It provides for support of your dentures. No? So that's the rest. And then you have the minor connector that joins your clasp to the major connector. And then we have the body of the clasp, which joins the rest to the minor connector. And at the end of the body, you have a shoulder. May tinatawag na shoulder ang clasp, di ba? And ang merong shoulder, yung retentive tip, not the reciprocal arm, di ba? So ang meron lang shoulder, retentive, not the reciprocal arm. So sabi ko nga kanina, di ba? Sabi ng clasp, now I have two arms. You have the retentive and the reciprocal arm. What's the difference? Ang retentive arm has a tip, has a retentive tip. And the retentive tip of your clasp is the only flexible part of the clasp. And it's the only part ng clasp that should go down or engage the undercut. I think alam nyo naman yan. No? Para if it for a clasp, the tip, to be able to pass through the height of contour, it must be flexible. And if you notice, anong difference ng retentive from the reciprocal? Ang retentive can be divided into three parts. The proximal part is called the shoulder. And the shoulder is the one that connects the body or the rest to the minor connector. No? And shoulder should be rigid. That is why, di ba ang requirement natin, any component ng class which is designed to be rigid should be placed above the height of contour. Only flexible component goes below the height of contour. Shoulder must be, it's rigid. So it is placed above the height of contour. Then you have a middle third, no, which may or may not have some degree of flexibility. And the distal end of the retentive arm is the retentive tip, which is, as I've said, the only flexible part of your clasp, and the only one that goes into the undercut area. No, the other arm, if one arm is retentive, the other arm is a reciprocal arm. No, and the reciprocal arm, since the all arm is rigid, it's a rigid arm. No, wala kang middle third, wala kang wrist shoulder, but from the start, no, to the tip, naka-open ako ang camera. So from the tip of the clasp, say go down. So from the rest or the body going towards the wala siyang reciprocal tip. So if you notice one difference between the tip and between a retentive tip, di ba, and the reciprocal arm, the whole arm is rigid. So the whole reciprocal arm is placed above the height of contour, as close to the height of contour but not below the height of contour. Wala siyang, the whole arm. So pag dinesign mo siya, kung ano yung size ng clasp mo from the start up to the end, pareho sila ng size. Unlike, di ba, ang retentive tip, meron siyang taper. Dapat nag-equally taper siya. So that if your clasp starts ng 1 millimeter, pagdating niya sa retentive tip, 0.5 millimeters na lang siya. That's the idea, no? It should have a limited taper. And that's how you identify a retentive tip from a reciprocal arm, or retentive arm to a reciprocal arm. Okay? By the way, question lang. Where do you place the retentive arm? How do we always place the retentive arm in the buccal and the reciprocal on the lingual? Is it
No.
Is it always like that? Yes. Sino to? Sino yung sumagot? Hello po. What will determine kung retentive siya o reciprocal? Should I place the retentive arm on the buccal and the lingual arm on the lingual, or can I put my retentive arm in the lingual and then automatically the other arm becomes reciprocal, di ba? That's one rule. You always make one retentive, one reciprocal. Ang tanong is, do I place it on the lingual or on the buccal? So what will determine if the retentive arm is in the buccal or in the lingual?
Kung saan po yung may greatest convexity or undercut?
Kung saan ang available undercut. Not the greatest convexity. The greatest convexity is the height of contour. No? Kung nasaan ang undercut. Kasi ang retentive tip should always be placed in the undercut. So kung ang undercut mo nasa buccal, ang undercut, ang tip, ang retentive mo is on the buccal. Hindi sa greatest convexity. The greatest convexity is the height of contour. It should be below. Below the height of contour is the undercut. And the tip should not be placed in the height of contour. It is placed below the height of contour. Hindi siya dapat nag-i-engage. The retentive tip should not engage the height, the greatest convexity. It becomes an active clasp. Okay? So kung ang retentive undercut mo, or your undercut is found on the lingual, then your tip should be in the lingual. Your retentive arm should be on the lingual. And then the other arm becomes reciprocal. no? And then dapat nga, no, dapat nakikita nyo yung tip, no, ng inyong retentive arm. So meron siyang taper. Unlike a reciprocal, wala siyang taper. Okay? Questions po? Okay. So kailangan, bago mag-design, kaya nga sinesurvey mo na eh. Titignan mo nyo muna, di ba, kung nasan yung undercut nyo. Kasi doon mo dapat, that's where you should place your retentive tip. No? And you design your clasp depending on what's the best clasp so that when you design your clasp, the tip will engage the available undercut. And kailangan ng survey line. How will you know if your tip is in the undercut if you don't have a survey line? Tama ba yung position mo ng clasp? And remember, if your clasp is not in the undercut or if it's not below the survey line, chances are wala kang retention. It will not get retained. Kaya dapat talaga, no, nakikita niyo muna ang survey line. It's the survey line that will dictate the proper position of your clasp. Okay. And in the case of the vertical projection clasp, we have the approach arm. And as I've said, the tip is attached to the approach arm. And usually, no, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the T clasp. Now, this is called a T clasp. And in a T clasp, it's called a T or a Y because it looks like a T or the Y, no? Kaya ang tawag nila dito, T clasp. Okay. No, letter T, di ba? So in a T clasp, no, or if you have two tips in a vertical projection, it is always the tip adjacent sa edentulus. Kung saan galing yung approach arm, doon ang retentive tip. Yung other tip is non-retentive. Minsan tinatanggal na lang yan. No? And since, kaya pag nag-design ng T, not the two tips or the two tip of your T is placed in the undercut. Hindi yan pantay. The retentive tip is placed below. The other tip is above. It's just a non-retentive. No? And the tip of the T, which is retentive, is the one adjacent sa edentulus. Kung saan galing yung approach arm, nandun yung retentive tip in T clasp. No? And luckily for us, now most of you, no, RPI naman ang ginagamit, so there is not only the eye, no? Sorry. So, and the eye should be placed in the undercut area. And the eye clasp, this is the only clasp that can engage a middle undercut. All the clasp, T, Y, no? Dapat ang undercut no nasa mesial or distal line angle. Circumferential clasp should always have an undercut which is found in the mesial or distal line angle, never in the middle. The only clasp which can engage an undercut which is located in the middle of the tooth is an eye bar or an eye clasp. Okay. Questions po? So, okay tayo? Okay. Let's go to the 6 basic requirements ng clasp. No? So, we have support, stability or bracing, diba? You have reciprocation, passivity, encirclement, and of course, retention. So, they say nga, no, any clasp, whether circumferential, vertical projection, it must satisfy these 6 basic requirements. Support, stability, retention, reciprocation, passivity, and encirclement. No? What is support ng clasp? Support is resistance to vertical forces. And the rest, the principal rest, already provides for support. Kaya hindi maganda. That is why it's not a good idea to have a casted clasp tapos walang rest. Walang support yung clasp. especially if it's casted. No? Kung minsan nga kahit wire clasp, no? Kung minsan pinalalagyan pa ng rest hinihinang yung they solder the wire, no? Para magkaroon lang ng rest. So importante, no? Especially if it's a casted clasp. It should have support, and the rest, your principal rest, whether it's occlusal, incisal, or lingual, no, then it must have a rest. And this is the one that will prevent the clasp from being moved away from its position. It provides for support. Okay, no? What is stability or bracing? This is the ability of the clasp not, or the tooth, not to move. This is resistance to horizontal forces, no? Dapat the clasp should tawag dito, yung hindi gagalaw, the tooth, the abutment tooth should not move away from the clasp. And as long as the component is designed to be rigid, it provides for stability. 'Di ba? Bakit kailangan rigid ang major, minor, rest? Kasi it provides for stability. And the same for the clasp, no? Stability is resistance to horizontal forces. And the most stable in terms of stability is the casted Akers clasp. Siya daw ang pinaka-stable, no? Kasi in an Akers clasp, except for the retentive tip, all the rest of the component of your clasp is rigid. Kaya ang only part is only the retentive tip ang nilalagay below the height of contour. The reciprocal arm, the rest, the body, the shoulder are all rigid. And it has the function of providing for stability of the clasp. Okay? Sabi nga, the most stable is the casted Akers clasp. And then the third is reciprocation. No? Reciprocation means kasi, di ba, you learn this, no? Well, if once the retentive tip passes through the height of contour, may tulak yan It pushes the abutment. Pag tinatanggal siya, when it passes through the height of contour, may tulak yan sa abutment. So what is reciprocation? If there is a force which pushes it lingual, there must be something which will absorb that force. Meron kang support on the other side, and that is what we mean by reciprocation. No, or it doesn't have to be a reciprocal arm, no, like in the case of the RPI, wala ka namang reciprocal arm. How come it's acceptable? No, it doesn't mean that when you say reciprocation, it's always a reciprocal arm, di ba? So it's the reciprocal component. Ang purpose niyan is it offsets, or it absorb, no, yung forces that is generated by the retentive tip as it passes through the height of contour. Pero hindi siya tutulak. Imagine how often do you remove the denture? No? So every time you remove, or every time the patient removes the denture, tutulak. Pagkabit, tutulak. So, tawag dito. So kung wala kang support on the other side, chances are magtitilt yung ipin. So to prevent that, you have a reciprocal component. And the best reciprocal component dapat, no? The reciprocal component should touches or engage the tooth before the retentive tip passes over the height of contour. Dapat nauuna ang reciprocal arm o reciprocal component bago pa dumaan yung retentive tip sa height of contour. That's a good reciprocation. At when the denture is being removed, no, the reciprocal arm should be in contact with the tooth until the retentive component is passes through the height of contour. Dapat nandun siya to be able to provide for a good reciprocal or good reciprocation. Unang nagtatouches ang tooth o unang nagtatouch ang reciprocal arm sa tooth kapag pinapasok, dapat nakadikit pa rin yung reciprocal component until the retentive arm passes through the height of contour. And that is what we mean by reciprocation. Okay? So, what is encirclement? Diba? Encirclement is the clasp should embrace the tooth more than 180 degree. So, kung ang tooth is said to be 360 degree, so dapat yung clasp arms nyo, no, should more or less be more than 180 degree ang kanyang coverage. So, don't design a clasp that is too narrow or too short. Hindi dapat yon, especially for a circumferential clasp. Dapat pass siya ng middle. Pass ng middle kalahati ng ipin to satisfy the 180 degree requirement. In a circumferential, that is not a problem because in the case of the retentive, ang reciprocal arm kasi, ang retentive arm kasi, no? Or sorry, in circumferential clasp, ang retentive undercut should be in the mesial or distal line angle. So usually it's not a problem kasi kailangan nasa undercut ka. Talagang dapat mahaba ang arm mo. Dapat nag-e-end yung retentive tip mo sa undercut. And in a circumferential clasp, it ends, the undercut is located in the mesial or distal line angle. Am I clear? O okay lang? Naintindihan ako?
Opo.
Okay, no? Sabihin niyo kung malabo, no? Okay, no? Kaya hindi usually a problem sa atin 'yan sa reciprocal eh. Kasi nga andun naman yung undercut mo eh. And alam naman natin ang undercut, the tip should be in the undercut area. So don't make your clasp arm, especially a circumferential clasp, nasa gitna. It should be more than half the circumference of the tooth. Dapat mahaba to be able to satisfy the 180 degree, more than 180 degree encirclement or 100 degree embrace ng clasp. Para yung tooth doesn't move out of the embrace ng clasp. Okay? In the case of a circumferential clasp, continuous yung encirclement. So no problem. Tuloy-tuloy siya. But in the case of a vertical projection clasp, kasi hiwalay-hiwalay, di ba? It's not a continuous arm, no? So hiwalay, no? Yung clasp arms, di ba? So dapat if it's a vertical projection clasp provides for what we call broken encirclement. Putol yung encirclement. And if it's a broken encirclement, merong rule that it should be 3-point contact. Dapat the clasp and the tooth should come in contact in 3 different positions. And usually this is provided by the reciprocal arm, the rest, and the retentive tip. So dapat may 3-point contact. Kaya nga ang RPI, di ba? Sa RPI, wala kang reciprocal arm, but you have a proximal plate to satisfy the 3-point contact. Diba? Ang RPI, you have a mesial rest, you have a proximal plate, and you have the I-bar. So meron ka pa rin 3-point contact to satisfy the 180 degree requirement. Okay. Questions? Ay, bumaba. Okay. No? So this is your RPI. Diba? So 3-point contact ka pa din eh. So the I, the proximal plate, and you have your mesial dress. Okay, the fifth requirement is passivity. No? Passivity means the class must not create any force. The only time your class provides, or the only time that the class functions, is kapag merong dislodging force. Kung walang force, wala siyang force. So kung walang, hindi tinatanggal, no? When the class is a passive class, once it's in the tooth, doesn't do anything, doesn't function. Kaya nga mali yung sasabihin nyo, it's on the height of contour. O sasabihin nyo, it's in the convexity. Kasi kung nasa convexity ang class mo, active yung class mo. So dapat siya below. Kasi dapat passive siya. Doesn't do anything. The only time the retentive tip functions or provide for retention is when there is a dislodging force. No? The only time the clasp engages the height of contour is when there is a dislodging force. So, ano yan eh? Ang clasp, di ba? Parang, di ba, pag tinignan nyo yung head natin, di ba? May shape, may undercut tayo dito sa neck. Can you imagine if you place your clasp, naka-engage ng iyong neck? Di ba palagi yung nakasakal? Imagine, 24 hours, 7 days a week, 360 in a day, nakasakal yung clasp mo dun sa tooth. So what will happen to the tooth? No? Yun yung mag-strain. Talagang mag-strain yung ipin. Hindi nakakahinga yung ipin eh. Kasi palaging working yung clasp. And the only time that the clasp is required to work is when there is a dislodging force. When you say working, the only time the clasp provides retention is when there is a dislodging force. Kaya dapat, very important, that when you design the clasp should be passive. You don't like an active clasp. Okay? And one way of ensuring that the clasp is passive is to place it properly dun sa tooth surface. No? If you divide, sabi nila, no, if you divide, the tooth can be divided into 3 portions, the occlusal, the middle, and the cervical. No, occlusal component, the rest is placed on the occlusal third. There is the reciprocal component is placed in the middle third, and the retentive component is placed in the gingival third. Kaya di ba mas mababa, mas mataas ang reciprocal sa retentive. Hindi yan pantay. But the retentive arm is usually, retentive tip, especially the retentive tip, usually mas mababa siya. No? And the reciprocal arm is above, nasa middle third. The best reciprocal component is placed on the middle third of the tooth. Okay? Para sigurado ka. Rest, no? Especially kung nag-resit preparation kayo. Kung nag-resit preparation ka, you make sure that your rest sits on the resit prep. Kapag nakaangat yung rest mo, definitely your clasp is nakaangat. And mas madalas active yung clasp. So make sure, no, pag kinabit nyo yung denture nyo on the tooth, nakasit properly yung rest mo sa rest sit. Or else, baka yung clasp mo becomes an active clasp, which is very detrimental to the abutment tooth. And how do you know kung tama ang position mo? Survey line. Kaya di ba ang best survey line? Where's the best position of the survey line? You don't put it too high or too low. But the best position, di ba, to put the survey line is at the junction of the middle and cervical third. If it's too high, hindi advisable. If it's too low, the clasp might impinge on your gingival tissue. If you place it too high, kitang-kita. So, hindi siya aesthetically acceptable. So mas maganda siya kung ang survey line is placed at the middle, at the junction of the middle and cervical third. And I don't know, di ba? Are you familiar with the different types of survey line? Merong type 1, type 2 survey line. Type 1 survey line is high to low, and then type 2 is low to high, and then there's a type 3 survey line, walang high and low. Hindi maganda yung walang type 3. So you either change the survey line to either a type 1 or a type 2. Usually ang type 1 from the undercut. Usually, di ba, you notice this when you survey. Usually, pag dinraw mo yung survey line, kung nasaan where is the undercut is, usually mataas ang survey line mo. So, merong high, may low ang survey line. No? And they say that's a practical, no? As I've said, magtanong kayo, no? Pero dati kasi, si Dr. Paragas noon, no, hinaghahanap siya talaga ng survey line. Doesn't mean na kailangan mo magdala ng surveyor. No? Nado-drawing naman ng survey line. No? So, dapat meron kang high, may low ang survey line mo. No? So, hindi maganda ang survey line na pantay. Walang high, walang low. Usually, pag type 1, maganda ang circumferential. Kung ang survey line is type 2, mas maganda ang vertical projection. And ang type 3 survey line is either changed to either type 1 or type 2. So, ang nagdidictate actually ng clasp, when it comes to the direct retainer, nagdidictate sa clasp is your survey line. That's how important the survey line is to the direct retainer. You cannot expect your clasp to be passive kung hindi siya properly positioned. And if your rest, imaginein mo kung ang rest nyo nakaangat, then the other components nakaangat yan. Baka active yung clasp mo. Nag-e-engage siya ng height of contour, which is very detrimental when it comes to the abutment tool. Okay? Questions po? Okay. No questions? Okay. No? And the last requirement is retention. And how do we provide for retention? This is provided by the retentive tip, which is placed below the height of contour or below the area of convexity or below the survey line. Yung tip, no, that is placed, and clasp, no, produces its retention through the principle of resistance of metal to deformation. That's the rationale for the clasp. Okay. Questions? Okay. Walang tanong? There are several factors that determines the amount of clasp retention. How retentive is the clasp? So, tatlo yung factors. Okay? One is the amount or the degree of undercut, yung height of contour. Di ba pag nagsusurvey tayo, naghahanap tayo ng, tawag nila doon, yung light, no? Yung dadaanan ng light o yung triangle of light. This is the, yung tawag dyan, no? This is the undercut, no? Tawag nila doon, triangle of light. So from where the analyzing rod touches the tooth, and then magpo-form ka ng parang triangle, and that is called your undercut or the triangle of light. This is the area of parang concavity, no? And the bigger the triangle, the bigger the undercut available for the tooth. The more, no? So, kasi di ba ang shape ng ipin, what you call that? Iba yung, hindi naman flat yung shape natin, di ba? It's actually may convexity nga siya, di ba? So the bigger the triangle of light that you see during survey, the bigger is the possibility of undercut. So the bigger the undercut, the more retentive the clasp is. But you don't need a big undercut. Sabi nga, you only need minimum undercut to be able to provide for retention. So kaya nga kung minsan, di ba, sometimes patient will complain, Doc, ang taas naman ng class, it's too high, it's seen, no? And we cannot do that unless you modify the tooth. Kasi nandun yung available undercut mo eh. If you want to do that, modify the tooth. Kasi pag binaba mo naman yung hindi, if you put the clasp lower, ang laki-laki ng undercut. Kawawa yung ipin. Might be too much force on the tooth. And usually, ang kailangan mo lang, di ba, what we need is only a small undercut. Kasi nga, to resist reasonable dislodging force, we don't need a big undercut. Usually, the undercut immediately after the survey line is pwede na yan. Basta may triangle kang nakita below the survey line, pwede na yan. Eh what if yung undercut mo ang taas? Di ang pangit ng class mo. Hindi mo yan pwedeng ibaba. You cannot put it down. Nakuha niyo ko. Kaya kahit anong hindi pwede, kasi it might engage too much undercut. And that is too retentive for the tooth. Okay? That's how important survey is to the clasp. Yung unang yellow dun sa picture, pwede na yan eh. You just need small. I'll explain why later. Bakit you don't need a big undercut? Although it depends on the metal that you used. Okay? Questions? Okay ba? Naintindihan ako? No problem, ha? Okay. No problem? Hello po. We're good. Hello? Okay. Opo. Okay. Sasagot naman kayo para alam ko kung may kausap pa ako, wala na akong kausap. Siyempre, ayoko nang walang kausap. Okay. Next is, how far into the available undercut your clasp extends. So yun yung sinasabi ko. If you put it on the 0.01 undercut, so 0.01 lang ang bibigay sa'yo. If you want more retention, you engage a bigger undercut. So dun ka sa ilalim. So kung gusto mong clasp na hindi na natatanggal, no? Hindi na removable yung denture mo, yung tipong ang sikip-sikip. Na ang patient, I encounter one case na dyan sa clinic, no? Hindi niya tinatanggal yung denture niya. Hindi siya sinabihan, I don't know, no? I'm not sure, pero I don't think so. No? Sabi ng patient, Doc, hindi naman po sinabi nung clinician na kailangan kong tanggalin. Hello? Can you imagine how anong smell nun, di ba? Hindi tinatanggal yung removable nga hindi tinatanggal yung postiso. No? Kasi Doc, ang sikip hindi ko matanggal. Hindi ko na lang tinanggal. No? We don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need too retentive. No? So, okay na yung 0.25. No? Yung undercut immediately after the survey line, usually that's enough to provide for reasonable retention. You don't need a big undercut. Masyadong retentive. And the more retentive your clasp is, the more force it generates or it transfers to the abutment. Okay? Okay, no? So, the third factor that determines clasp retention is flexibility. How flexible is your clasp? The more flexible your clasp, less ang retention. But less din ang force. So when we design, di ba, a clasp, it should not be too flexible. It should not be too rigid. So dapat tama lang ang flexibility, no? Kung masyadong flexible yung clasp mo, wala na siyang retention. Kung too rigid naman siya, baka nga hindi na matanggal, no? Yung tipong putol na yung kuko ng patient, di pa natatanggal yung clasp. So we don't want that. That's too much force. Masyadong ano. So when they design clasp, no, it should not be too flexible, that it does not give you retention. It should not be too rigid, that it transfers too much forces on the abutment. And one way of controlling, no, flexibility is yung length of the clasp. The longer the length, di ba, the more flexible ang clasp. Kaya nga hindi advisable that you end in the middle of your tooth, no? Kasi if you put your clasp arms to engage the mesial or distal undercut, that will provide you for a longer arm. And that will make it more flexible. And di ba ang rule in designing the tip, it should always point towards the occlusal surface. Should not point towards the cervical. It should always point towards the occlusal surface. That adds flexibility to the clasp. Add flexibility to the retentive tip. So whether it's the reciprocal arm or the retentive tip, clasp arm should always point towards the occlusal surface. That adds length, and the longer the clasp arm, the more flexible the clasp arm becomes. So kung gusto mong flexible yung clasp mo, no, make it a long clasp. You know, even yung design ng approach arm, may nagtatanong, ma'am, gaano kahaba ang approach arm? It depends on how flexible you want. Pero of course, di ba, we don't place it on the floor, yung dito na sa may buccal area, di ba, yung tissue, soft tissue, dapat it should be on the hard tissue, no? So at least, no? So if you make your approach arm too long, that makes it too flexible. If you make it too rigid, same thing. Okay? Another is on the diameter of the clasp. The smaller the diameter, the more flexible. Kaya nga yung tip, it's 1/2 the shoulder. That's the ideal. May taper siya. Whereas ang reciprocal arm, wala siyang taper. It's a rigid arm. The whole arm is rigid. Wala siyang flexible component. Reciprocal arm. Unlike in the retentive arm, it has different flexibility. Ang shoulder should be flexible. The shoulder should be rigid, so it should be up. The middle may or may not, and only the tip. And pag tinignan nyo ang retentive tip, di ba? Ang retentive tip, it's usually mas makitid. It's usually narrower than the shoulder. That makes the tip more flexible than the shoulder. Okay? Question po? Okay. And then you have the cross-sectional form. We have two types of material, two types of class based on cross-sectional form. You have a half round, which is the typical, no? If the class is made of casted material, gold or white metal, casted lang siya. The only class which is round is wrought wire. Yun lang ang round clasp. But if it's a casted clasp, it's half round. And a half round is more rigid than a round clasp. So kung gusto mong flexible ang clasp mo, no? Make a round clasp. You adjust ina-adjust ng laboratory yung flexibility ng clasp arms. If usually, no, kung ang material that is used to make the clasp is gold, pwede na yung mga mga yung amount ng undercut, no? Kasi pag white metal, yung 0.25 pwede na yan eh, no? Na amount ng undercut. You don't place or usually no, they don't put a white metal or a class which is made of white metal on a big undercut, too rigid. Kung talagang wala kang, let's say, nag-survey, or di ba there are certain times when the tooth, wala kang makitang small na undercut, ang laki ng undercut, hindi, you change the material. Pinapalitan ng material. Wrought wire, kasi it's too flexible, the material itself is flexible na siya. If it's placed on an undercut, small undercut, it will not provide for retention. Nakuha niyo ko. So, ina-adjust ang material dyan depending on the available undercut. Kung gold, medyo mas malaki ng konti. And the only class which is allowed if the undercut is big is a wrought wire. Okay? And of course, you have the material used, no? So, round, no? Why is wrought wire the most flexible? Kasi it's round. And a round is always more flexible than a half round. So, pag nag-survey kayo, at ang laki-laki ng undercut, kasi nakatilt yung abutment mo, no? Wag niyong gamitan ng, don't use, excuse me, as ng radyo, no? So, don't use, tawag dito, don't use, casted. Di ba kaya yung sa peryo? Usually sa peryo, di ba? Pag peryo case, kasi mas madalas ang lalaki na ng mga undercut. Di ba? Ang pinapalagay lang sa inyo wrought wire. Kasi nga, it's too dangerous for the abutment kung masyadong rigid yung clasp. Okay? Questions? Okay. Ha? Okay, no? So some rules concerning retention. So I think this is clear, di ba? Only one arm is retentive. We never design both arms retentive. You don't design both arms reciprocal. And if buccal retentive is used on one side, it should be opposed by a buccal retentive on the other side. Di ba sabi natin, pwede namang lingual, depending on the available undercuts. But if your undercut is found on the buccal, dapat sa other side is buccal also. Or lingual-lingual. Doesn't matter kung mesial or distal, di ba? Basta kung buccal, ang retentive on one side, buccal din ang retentive on the other side. Palaging merong tawag dito, may partner siya on the other side for better cross-arch stability. Okay. No? So the simplest type of a clasp should be used, no? And the simplest clasp that we can use is Akers. It's the simplest clasp. Sabi nga, you can never go wrong with an Akers clasp. So avoid complicated clasp. And clasp should be designed based on the available undercut, location and depth of the available undercut. Kasi ideally, kung 0.01 on one side, 0.01 on the other side. Para better ang stability. Hindi pwede ang laki-laki on the undercut on one side, tapos ang liit on the other side. Kaya nga nagsisurvey. Sometimes sinisurvey siya to balance the undercut. Dapat it should be more or less equal in amount. Okay? And as I mentioned kanina, the only type ng clasp which can be placed in the middle It's the I. Even the T or the Y, mesial or distal line angle pa rin siya eh. So the only type ng clasp which can engage an undercut which is placed or found in the middle of the surface is an RPI or an I-bar. Clear about clasp retention? Okay. No? So how do we look for retentive areas? So, the nearer, sabi nila, the nearer the abutment tooth, the nearer the undercut to the edentulous space, the better ang retention. Siguro that is why normally, di ba, when we choose abutments, we choose the tooth adjacent, kung pwede. No? Yung tooth adjacent. Mas maganda kasi the nearer and ang retentive, most of the time the retentive, the eye, ang advantage ng eye, it's more retentive. Or the T, kasi nga in a T class, mas malapit yung available undercut to the edentulous space. So the nearer the undercut to the edentulous space, the greater ang possibility for retention. And mas maganda if in terms of cross-arch stability, na mas maganda if you make your clasp too wide. Like in this case. No? Hindi maganda if you choose abutments na mag-close to each other. The bigger the square or the bigger the difference, the bigger the distance of your clasp, the greater ang cross-arch stability. Kaya kung minsan, di ba, sabi noon, I remember, sabi nung isang examiner, they don't like the back-to-back. Although ang ganda tignan ng back-to-back. You're familiar with back-to-back, di ba? So ang ganda-ganda niyan tignan. Even sa wax pattern, ganda niyan tignan. No? But ayaw, yung isang examiner, ayaw niya. Kasi masyadong the clasp, the clasp is too close to each other. It doesn't provide you with a good cross-arch stability. The wider your clasp are from each other, the better ang cross-arch stability. Okay? So, similar ang retentive area on the opposite side. Okay? Actually, akala natin dali-dali ng RPD. Kasi wala tayong masyado. On our part, di ba, as a dentist, no? What do you do kapag RPD? Just take impression. Kuminsan nga, you don't even bother to design it. What do? You send it to the laboratory. It's the laboratory who does everything. No? But kung titignan nyo, when it comes to the technical, ang hirap ng RPD. Especially when it comes to the clasp. Buti na lang, no? Di tayo masyadong nagsisurvey, di ba? No? And yun nga, no? Yung design, no? So, but dapat talaga may survey line. Or at least you ask the laboratory to survey it. Survey niya. Ang hirap ng one piece pag hindi sinurvey. Assemblage pwede pa. Actually, hindi naman sinusurvey ang assemblage. But if it's one piece, kayo ang mahihirapan mag-fit ng inyong denture kapag hindi na survey ng maganda ang cast nyo. So, dapat talaga sinusurvey yan. Okay? Questions po? Okay. Let's go to the circumferential clasp. No? So, suprabulge. Okay. Ito yung advantages. Easiest design, no, good support, retention, and bracing. Mas madaling i-repair. Actually, you cannot repair a vertical projection. Have you experienced broken yung clasp, no? RPI yung clasp mo, tapos it broke? Wala kang choice. Acres. You cannot repair an RPI. And you cannot even bend a wire. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-bend ng wrought wire to make a vertical projection, di ba? Not possible. However, these are the disadvantages. No? Yan. I think that's clear. Usually more metal. So in terms of aesthetics, no? Especially kung mataas, no? Especially if you put your survey line too high, then your class, it's usually hindi siya aesthetically acceptable, no? If it's positioned on the tooth, mas malaki ang chances that the reciprocal arm or the arms, no, can tilt the tooth. Di ba mas madaling, no? Di ba if you push a pole and you want to tilt the pole, hindi ka nagtutulak from below, di ba? You make tulak on the up. So imagine your circumferential clasp, your Akers clasp, if you place it too high on the tooth, mas madali siyang itulak. So mas madaling mag-tilt yung abutment nyo. Hindi lang for aesthetics, no? But also for function. Okay. So we don't like it, no? And because of aesthetics, and it is really not possible to adjust the clasp. You cannot move a circumferential up and down. You can only open it and close it. Kaya nga, kung mataas siya, hindi mo siya pwedeng ibaba. Kung ano yung position niya, yun na yun. You can only open, tighten, or loosen. No? And when you adjust, don't adjust from the shoulder. You adjust only the retentive tip. Don't adjust from the shoulder, or else mababalian kayo. And as much as possible, you don't adjust the reciprocal arm. Kung may ina-adjust sa circumferential, sa Akers, dapat yung tip lang. Kasi that's the only flexible part. Kaya kumisa nababali ang arm. Kasi you keep on bending. Hindi naman siya flexible. So talagang magbe-break yung clasp. Okay. So these are the rules for use of a circumferential. So I think this is clear. No, don't need to explain. No. Clear. The retentive tip should always point towards the occlusal surface. Why? Because it adds flexibility to the retentive tip. That makes the retentive tip more flexible. Should always terminate at the mesial and distal line angle. So pag magsi-circumferential clasp ka, you look for an undercut which is located either in the mesial or distal line angle, never in the middle. And since isa lang naman ang retentive arm, isa lang ang retentive tip, di ba? You don't need too many undercut. Isa lang naman kailangan nating undercut. Yun lang naman ang kailangan natin, di ba? Isa lang naman eh. So, hanapin nyo lang yan. Nasaan ba? Is it on the mesial, mesiobaccal, mesiolingual, distobaccal, distolingual? No? So, and usually, kung saan more or less magkakapareho. So, pwede naman, di ba? Pwede namang mesial on one side, distal on the other side. Ang importante, what is important is bakal-bakal. Pareho ng depth, 0.1, 0.5, 0.5. No? Pero hindi pwedeng bakal lingual. Dapat may partner siya on the other side. Yan. Should be kept as low as possible. The higher the clasp arms, mas maraming disadvantages ang circumferential. And what will control your positioning of your clasp? Survey line. So if your survey line is high, now don't expect that your clasp is low. Kaya nga, during survey, sa survey pa lang, you position already your clasp. And as I've said, the ideal position of the survey line is at the junction of the middle and cervical third. Too high, too low, not advisable. Okay? Questions? So we have different types of circumferential clasp. So you're familiar with Akers? No? Sometimes called circlet, simple circlet. And the most stable is a custed circumferential. Maganda ang circumferential, maganda ang Akers or circlet if it's tooth-borne. Tooth-borne yung case, no? And usually, di ba, in a circlet, your retentive tip is opposite the edentulous space. Pero pwede naman. But most of the time, in a circlet clasp, yung rest kasi natin, we place it adjacent to the edentulous. If you use a circlet, usually ang retentive tip niya is on the other side. Kaya nga, when you're planning for your design ng inyong clasp, titingnan mo saan ka maglalagay ng rest. So since ang rest ko nasa mesial, so dapat Akers ang gusto ko, dapat ang undercut ko nasa distal. If you don't have an undercut on a tooth, you cannot use that as an abutment. Hindi pwedeng gamitin ang ipin na walang undercut. Very seldom naman do we find a tooth with no undercut. Usually may undercut naman yan. Kaya yung iba, di ba, nagke-create pa sila ng undercut. Kasi kung ang ipin, walang undercut, they create an undercut. Kasi hindi pwede. Hindi pwedeng gamitin ang abutment o hindi pwedeng gamitin na abutment ang tooth if you don't have an available undercut. Di ba? Okay. So maganda to if you want to put your maganda ang Akers for tooth-borne. If you can use an Akers because it's the simplest type of a clasp, very stable, very good retentive, no? So usually, no, maganda siya for tooth-borne, no? And usually this is it uses an undercut which is on the opposite side of your edentulous space. Kung ang rest mo. Kaya kung minsan, di ba, gusto mo ng Akers, gusto mong mesial ang rest mo, pero ang undercut mo nasa mesial din. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-Akers. Nakuha niyo ko. Di ba when we design, ang edentulous space ko distal. So, ang rest ko gusto ko sa distal. Gusto ko Akers. Paano ako mag-Akers? Distal ang rest if the undercut is on the distal also. Hindi pwede. You have to modify your design of your clasp. Or, you modify the tooth. I-mouth prep mo. Diba? Maglagay ka ng rest sa mesial. O maglagay ka ng undercut sa mesial. Okay?
Kesa pupuntahan pa namin sa City Hall.
Okay. No?
Kaya siniman pala na at least
Klase ako.
may classes.
Sino yan? Si Ate Claire? Okay. Hi, Jem. Hi.
Classes Saturday.
Okay. No? Hi, Lucky.
Who's that?
Hi, sweetie. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, another form of clasp, no? Another form of circumferential clasp is called the back action clasp. So one advantage of this, it's a very long clasp. So it's very flexible. Sometimes, kaya lang hindi siya ganun ka-retentive. It's not too stable, no? Kasi all the clasp is flexible. So very long, very flexible siya, no? So not advisable if it's you want a more stable class. Shh, Yoli, ang lakas. Sorry ha, ingay nung kapatid ko eh. Okay, no? So, no? Maganda to kasi usually if the tooth no in a distal extension is tilted, hindi pwede ang RPI. One indication ng back action is kung severely tilted yung tooth. Tapos you cannot use, diba? You cannot use an vertical projection kapag very severely tilted ang ipin. So when the tooth is tilted, ang laki ng undercut. And kailangan, if the malaki the undercut, no, you have to use a very flexible clasp. And one clasp which is very flexible is the back action. Yun yung isang gamit ng back action. Pero kung pwede A-course, di ba? Okay. We have a fish hook, or they call it a C-clasp, or the reverse action. This is how it looks like. Not a very good choice of a clasp. So, kailangan, usually, hindi, this type of clasp not recommended kapag short yung tooth. So, if the two, yung loop is too close to each other, it becomes a foot trap. So, hindi siya ganun kagandang type ng clasp. Yan. This is called the fish hook. No? And then you have the embrasure or the back-to-back. Diba? So, nice to look at, diba, ang back-to-back. Ganda tignan, no, ng back-to-back. But diba, even if it's back-to-back, it's still two retentive, two reciprocal. So, ang ano lang yan is it has one minor connector that joins the two clasps. And usually, diba, the minor connector is on the embrasure in between the two clasps. Ganda yan kung ang abutment mo is 4, 5, 6, 7 adjacent to each other. No? So, pero sabi nga, hindi siya gano'n. In terms of cross-arch stability, not a very good choice. Kung pwedeng hindi, kasi mas, di ba, mas separated yung class mo better in terms of cross-arch stability. And this is called multiple clasp. No? Kung merong back-to-back, may face-to-face. Usually, they call it multiple clasp. So, parang face-to-face siya. Ang difference lang, dalawa yung minor connector. Unlike a back-to-back, you only have one. So, same, di ba? One retentive, one reciprocal. And then we have the ring clasp. Now, usually, ang ring clasp is recommended for tilted tooth. No? So, maganda to for third molar. No? So, it looks like a back action, kaya lang it has a second rest. Para hindi siya too flexible. And usually, it comes with a second minor connector. So, ang ipin kasi, di ba, especially the third molar, pag tilted kasi ang third molar sa upper, usually it tilts more of the distobuccal ang tilting niya. Unlike sa lower, if the molars tilt, di ba, they tilt on mesiolingual ang tilting niyan. Pag wala siyang adjacent, ang tilting ng lower is towards the mesial and lingual. Ang upper, kapag nag-tilt siya, usually it's towards the buccal and usually towards the posterior, towards the distal. So in cases of that, usually nire-recommend ang ring clasp. Although kung pwede ang acres. And then we have the split or the half and half. It's like an acres which is divided into two. Yan ang itsura niyan, di ba? No? Maganda siya for isolated tooth. Usually, ginagamit ang split sa premolar, isolated na premolar. Hindi sa distal extension. No? Pag tooth-borne, mas may isa ka lang ipin doon, no? Walang katabi on both, but not in a distal extension. Usually not normally used for a distal extension. Usually for tooth-borne. That's the split clasp. No? It's good for recommended for isolated tooth. Ganyan ang itsura niyan pag tinignan nyo siya. It's like one class divided into two. This is called the half and half or the split. Okay? Questions about the different forms of circumferential? Okay. Let's go to the vertical projection. So these are the rules for use. So in terms of retention, it's more retentive. No, in terms of aesthetics, it's more aesthetically acceptable kasi less ang metal show, no? But if it's not properly designed, usually mas may tendency to cause foot drop because of the approach arm. So hindi siya ganun ka stable, no? More flexible kasi siya eh. Di ba kaya nga maganda ang bar kapag distal extension? You don't want too rigid clasp for a distal extension. Too much force will be transferred to the abutment. So usually you want a little bit more flexible. And an RPI in terms of flexibility, it's a little bit more flexible. Kaya mas maganda ang circumferential kapag tooth-borne. And then you cannot repair a vertical projection. So these are the limitation, no? Rules for use muna. I think this is clear. So it must not impinge on the soft tissue, no? So di ba may mga cases wherein you see a soft tissue undercut. So pag sinurvey yan, na tinitignan yung laki ng bone where the approach arm will pass through. So if that space now between the bone and the analyzing rod of the surveyor is more than 2 millimeters, usually it becomes a foot drop. Hindi pwede. I think clear na yan, no? So approach arm should not be designed to bridge a soft tissue undercut. Kapag malaki yung undercut on the buccal, hindi advisable ang approach arm. Kay I, kay T, basta mag-approach arm ka, hindi advisable. So, clear na yan, no? If you're T, no, usually like that, no? Yung T, yung retentive tip of a T-clasp is always adjacent sa edentulous space. So kung saan galing yung approach arm, nandun yung retentive tip of the T. This is true only if the clasp is called a T or a Y. So you have different types, no? So you have a T clasp, or the Y clasp. I think no need to explain that, no? And then you have a modified T. Tinanggal lang yung non-retentive. So in terms of aesthetics, it's more aesthetically acceptable. So may reciprocal arm yan, ha, di ba? Either you have a reciprocal arm or you have a proximal plate, depending on how you design. Pero one view lang kasi to. Pero may reciprocal. Kaya ang rest nandyan eh. So it's usually, may reciprocal arm yan. Yung lingual niyan. And then you're familiar with the I-bar. Yeah? So this is an I-bar. Tinanggal mo yung both retentive. If you replace the reciprocal arm and place a proximal plate, then it becomes your RPI. And an RPI, technically, an RPI stands for, the R stands for res, Michel res. P is proximal plate, and then you have the I-bar. So what's the difference between a proximal plate and the minor connector? Proximal plate is only placed on the surface of the tooth, which is adjacent. Di yan pwede kapag hindi adjacent, diba? And by the way, I think alam nyo naman to, diba? You cannot put a vertical projection if the tooth is not adjacent to the edentulous. Hindi pwedeng mag-cross ang approach arm. No, kailangan ang ipin, the tooth, no, to be used as an abutment should be adjacent sa edentulous. If you're going to use that, no, let's say for example, cuspid. Ayaw mo ng cuspid because of aesthetics. You're going to use the 4 for an abutment. Hindi na pwede ang hindi na pwede ang vertical projection. Circumferential na yan. I think alam nyo naman yan, no? And what is a proximal plate? It's simply a minor connector without a res. And usually it's wider, no? It's placed in the guide planes, and it should engage as much of the guide planes as possible para maganda yung kanyang sit, para maganda yung path of insertion ng dentures. And sa RPI, there are 3 different systems sa RPI, actually. What we use, no? What are we usually we're familiar with, no? All the 3 system, the rest is found in the Michel. I remember I asked my professor, can I make an RPI if it's not a distal extension? Kasi usually RPI is preferred, it was designed for a distal extension. Kasi nga, it should always come, ang RPI technically is Michel res. So I asked, pwede ba akong mag-RPI if it's not distal extension? Sabi ng professor ko sa Prosto 2, everything is possible. Pwede naman. But technically, RPI is supposed to be for distal extension. It was meant for distal extension. What's the advantage of the RPI between the acres? No? Kasi it's more, meron siyang stress breaking action. So, ang tendency ng eye is to go down. So, it loses contact with the tooth. Diba? Similarly to the rest, kailangan free siya to move. And ang maganda sa RPI, since ang rest mo nasa Michel, and the eye is attached to the minor connector, yung eye mo is free to move during function. Hindi siya nare-restrict nung rest mo. And that makes it more in terms of dissipation ng forces better. Instead of the forces being transferred to the tooth, dinidistribute yan sa iba. Kaya nga, pag distal extension, mas maganda RPI because of its stress-releasing action. Okay? So, pwede kasing no? What we do is ang rest in all the 3 system ng RPI system, rest is always placed on the Michel. And then the eye, no? Ang difference is in the proximal plate. May system kasi ng RPI, yung proximal plate mo should contact the entire guide planes. and only loses, meron ka lang small space, no, between the tooth and the tissue para pag nag-move yung denture mo down, it does not impinge on the tissue. So it, like this one, it covers the entire edentulous space. Or the entire guide planes. So mahaba, long ang proximal plate. May system kasi that it only contacts the 2/3 of the tooth, yung proximal plate. So res is mesial, but it only contacts the middle third. No, it doesn't have to contact the entire guide planes. In both system, the eye is placed in the middle. Sa gitna. The third system, the res is mesial, but the proximal plate only contacts the gingival third of the guide planes. And in this case, the eye is placed away from the edentulous space. May ibang system ganun. Depende kung anong system. Tayo kasi, di ba, res, when we design RPI, we put the res mesial. Proximal plate is more or less contacts the entire guide planes, and then medyo may space lang siya for the residual or for the gingiva, and then we place the eye in the middle. Pero actually, ang eye can be placed near, middle, or away, depending on the RPI system that is being followed. Okay? Questions? So baka magulat lang kayo, makakita kayo ng ang design ganun. Pwede yan actually. Kasi nga may mga iba-ibang system. It's just that we're familiar with that one system. No? Kaya pag nag-design tayo ng RPI natin, di ba, kailangan medyo mahaba, contacts the guide planes, no? And then we put the eye in the middle, and then ang rest is on the mesial. Pag distal extension, please, no? Please remember, we don't use an Akers class for the terminal abutment of a distal extension, especially engaging a mesial undercut and a distal rest. Bawal na bawal yan sa too rigid. So pag distal extension, kung gusto nyong mag-Akers, you put the rest on the mesial. But never put it on the Akers distal extension, tapos distal ang rest, mesial ang undercut. Bawal yan. The only excuse for that is if your clasp is combination. That's the one use ng combination clasp. When you say it's a combination clasp, magkaiba ng material. The retentive tip, the retentive arm is made of wrought wire. Kaya mas flexible siya. And the reciprocal arm is made of casted metal. That's the use of a combination clasp. And if Akers siya, ganun ang design, no, mesial ang distal ang res, engaging a mesial undercut, dapat wrought wire. Combination yung class mo. Okay po? So we cannot use, di ba, a vertical projection if the following factors, no? Very shallow ang vestibule. Wala ka kasing, why? Because wala kang, you don't have a space to put your approach arm. If you have a soft tissue undercut, no? So dapat the distance, no? Kasi if you put the surveyor, syempre i-contact niya yung soft tissue, yung undercut. So dapat yung tissue below the tissue undercut, no, and the surveyor, yung analyzing rod of the surveyor should not be more than 2 millimeters, or else, as I've said, it becomes a foot trap. And the other is severely tilted, yung abutment. So these are the limiting factors for the design or for using, no, the vertical projection class. Okay. I'm sorry, what happened? Any question po about the clasp? Uy, 3 o'clock na. May tanong?
Wala po, Doc.
Okay. Everything clear? So, okay naman? Okay. So, good.
Opo.
Okay. So, want to take a break?
Opo.
O okay lang? Ano po? Should I continue or you want to take a break? Okay lang po ako. So, we finish early. Kayo, bahala kayo. Ano?
Ilan na lang po, Doc, yung...
Medyo hindi naman. Hindi naman ganun kadami. Depends on ano pa bang gusto niyong malaman. So we still have your surveying, we still have your denture base, no? Indirect retainers, we have laboratory procedures, no? We have principles of design. So actually, you still have your mouth preparation, work authorization. So madami pa actually. So, I'll break at 3:30 para kasi 1:30 naman tayo nag-start. Mabilis lang naman tong survey, no? Sabi niyo nga nagse-survey naman kayo, so this is really not alam niyo naman to kasi nga you do naman the surveying. So you did survey, so okay, no? So let's as I've said, no? Tapusin ko lang to before we take a break. Tawag dito, if there is one component, no, which is very important ang survey, di ba, it's the direct retainers. Ang class, kailangan talaga nagsisurvey tayo. And to be able to survey, you have a surveyor. No? And this is called the NAY surveyor. Hindi na ganito ang itsura ng NAY. May variation na ng NAY, pero basically, pareho lang naman. No? So, this is called, also known as a parallelometer. And as the name says, it measures relative parallelism. So we have the different parts of the surveyor. You have the base, you have the vertical arm, you have the mandrel. Mandrel kung saan ina-attach yung mga accessory component. You have the horizontal arm. Now, at the end of the horizontal arm, you have your surveying arm that goes up and down. And then you have the table or the surveying table or the cast holder. No? And di ba when we survey, dapat yung table doesn't go up. You just move it around the base. Pero hindi siya dapat inaangat. Di ba? What goes up and down is the surveying arm. And then you have accessory component. No, yung mga maliliit na component. So you have an analyzing rod or the paralleling tool. We have the carbon marker or your lead pencil. And then you have the undercut gauge, which measures specific location and amount of undercuts. And then we have a wax knife or a wax cutter. This is used for during blackout. Hindi na natin to ginagamit. Laboratory yan in blackout. So it's the laboratory who does blackout. And to usually dun ginagamit that is where the wax knife. It looks like your wax carver, except it's small. It's attached to the mandrel of the surveyor. Okay. So this is the analyzing rod. So it's just a rod, di ba? Diretso lang siya. And what does it do? It determines parallelism. Kasi importante, just like in FPD, sa RPD, we need parallelism. So usually, surfaces ng tooth which bears parallel relationship are known as guide planes. And the more guide planes you have, the better for the retention. And to determine if you have parallelism or if the surface can be made parallel, you use the analyzing rod. Di ba dapat parallel yung surfaces, no? Or at least the surfaces adjacent sa edentulous. They should have more or less parallel relationship. Kaya kung hindi siya parallel, nagtitilt, di ba? Nag-a-adjust tayo ng table, and that's called tilting. Now, when you adjust the table or the position of the cast relative to the arm, that's called tilting. So we tilt to make it parallel, or at least may some degree of parallelism. No? So how do we find out the height of contour? Paano nyo nakikita ang height of contour? You use the carbon marker or the lead pencil. So to determine or to line or to mark where the survey line is, no? You use a carbon marker. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyong magandang survey line. Hindi pantay. May high, may low. And you look at the position of the low, yung low line, no? It's at the junction of the middle and gingival third. Not too high, not too low. Para mas maganda mong, mas easier to design the clasp. So, ganyan ang magandang survey line. May high, may low. Okay? And to use that, to find out where the height of contour is, di ba, you use your carbon marker or at least no, yung lead pencil. And dapat meron kang, since may arm ka sa labia, sa buccal, may arm ka sa lingual, then dapat may survey line ka both on the buccal and the lingual. Okay. And then to determine the amount, specific amount and location of the undercut, there is an instrument which is used to measure. It's called an undercut gauge. No? So, ang nangyayari kasi, di ba, tinitignan lang, ina-eyeball na lang natin. Ay, malaki to, maliit doon. So, you change the tilt until more or less pantay sila. Ay, maliit naman dito, maliit naman doon. Pwede na yan. So, pero if you want to determine the specific location and specific amount, it can actually be measured using an undercut gauge. And if you look at the gauge, yung head niya, different ang ano niyan, di ba? Iba-iba ang size. So, that determines the size of the undercut. They used an undercut gauge. And then you have the wax knife, which is used to trim off during the process of blackout. Okay, the two most common reasons for the surveyor is we survey the diagnostic cast and we survey and black out the master cast. Usually yan ang, sa dentist, di ba, yan ang madalas nating use of the surveyor. For surveying the diagnostic cast. Now, why do we need to survey the diagnostic cast? Because yung mouth preparation natin will be determined depending on how you survey the diagnostic cast. Diba, mouth preparation is simply, making sure that your mouth is amenable to the denture. So yung mga ayaw mong, you think will not make it possible for you to make a good denture kasi tatama siya, maiipit siya, o may undercut dito, walang undercut siya, no? Usually, tinatanggal siya during the mouth preparation. Wala siyang undercut, magke-create ka ng undercut, magpe-prepare ka ng rest seat, no? Magpaparallel ka ng surfaces, sinurvey mo siya, mataas ang survey line, so you will have to do enameloplasty to make the survey line more acceptable, no? So that's the purpose of the mouth preparation. And you can only do that if you survey the diagnostic cast. Surveying the diagnostic cast will determine what areas in the mouth needs to be changed to be to assure us that you are going to make a successful RPD. And of course, sinisurvey ang blackout. Sinisurvey ang master cast to determine if you've done what you're supposed to do. Nagawa mo ba yung dapat mong gawin? Sabi ng diagnosticas ganito. Ginawa mo ba? Nagawa mo ba? Are you satisfied with the mouth preparation? So, sinusurvey ulit ang masterclass. Okay. Yeah. So, why do we need to survey? Diba? To determine the most acceptable path of insertion and removal. Remember, path of insertion and removal is opposite. If you inserted it anterior first, you remove it posterior first. Usually, it is opposite. Kung pinasok mo yung denture left side before the right, tatanggalin mo siya right side first. Kaya kung minsan, ang hirap tanggalin. Kasi hindi, tawag dito, hindi zero, di ba? Ang tilt. What's the best tilt? Di ba it's zero? Zero or horizontal tilt. When do you say it's zero? If the floor of the occlusal table of your cast is parallel to the floor, zero siya. And kung pwedeng zero, zero. Kasi kapag zero ang survey, zero ang tilt. Now, you survey the cast 0 degree, ang path ng insertion yan, diretso lang. Straight lang siya. Very easy, very convenient for the patient. When you remove it, straight din lang. Kaya nga, ang rule is, you can survey 0. You survey at 0. If you need to modify the tooth and make it 0, modify the tooth. Especially kung minor lang yung modification. Pinaka-ideal survey is 0. And path ng insertion, di ba, it's always usually opposite the path of, okay, no? So, I think clear na yan, no? It should be what, no? It should be at 0 degree. Mas madali kapag 0. And you know what a 0 degree tilt is. Whenever you change the position of the cast, that's called tilting. You tilt. Okay. So there are 4 factors that should be satisfied when we determine path of insertion and removal. One is interference. What do we mean by interference? Interference refers to mga obstacle or hindrances to the proper placement of the tooth. Yung mga ipin na nakatilt, no? You have soft tissue undercut, natatamaan when you put the denture. Dapat walang interference. Smooth ang placement ng denture. One way of removing interference is to remove it, di ba? Do mouth prep or you change the tilt. And then what is guide plane? Guide planes or these are surfaces ng ipin, surfaces ng tooth, which is parallel to each other. Usually, these are surfaces adjacent to the edentulous area. And then you have the retentive areas. These are the areas that will be engaged by the undercuts or by the retentive teeth. And of course, you have aesthetics. And these are the 4 factors, diba? When we do survey, all of these factors should be acceptable. And you don't, ang tawag dito, you don't, di ba? Sabi niyo, nagsusurvey kayo, di ba? So you don't change the tilt every time you check one. Dapat isa lang ang tilt for all 4 factors. Kaya ang hirap ng survey actually. So hindi pwedeng, ay may interference, i-tilt ko. Pag tilt ko, ay wala akong guide planes. I-tilt ko for the guide planes. What happened to your interference? Dapat isa lang ang iyong path, isa lang ang tilt mo for all 4 factors. And that is your most acceptable path of insertion and removal. Okay, no? So, these are interferences, no? Yung mga hindi kasi yan papasok. Maiipit yung tissue, so dapat wala yan, no? And then you have to have guide planes, no? And maganda ang guide planes kasi it allows you to put your denture, mas madali, facilitate yung placement. it actually guides the denture into proper placement. Kaya mas maganda ang guide planes. Plus, since it's parallel, it provides you more retention. Okay, and then we look for retentive areas, no? So I think that's clear, okay? If the one thing which is required, retentive areas or undercut should be present at 0 degree tilt. That is called contour. True undercut. Merong tinatawag na positional undercut, or this is a false undercut. Undercut that is created by changing the tilt of the cast. For you to be able to put a clasp on a tooth, abutment tooth, the tooth must have an undercut at 0 degree tilt. Kung wala yan, hindi ka pwedeng, you cannot use that as an abutment. Ang tawag doon, false undercut. Okay? And dapat, no? Kung gaano kalaki on one side, ganun kalaki on the other side. And then, of course, you have aesthetics. And the better the position of your survey line, the better for aesthetics. Okay, no? So changing the position of the cast is called tilting. And tilting produces several effects. I think this is clear. Tilting, what does tilting, or tilting does not create undercuts. So sometimes we tilt, akala mo may undercut, pero wala siya. If it doesn't have an undercut at 0 degree, wala siyang undercut. So it does not, it only distribute undercut. But it does not create an undercut. Kailangan nagki-create ng undercut. Tilting will not cause or will not produce an undercut. Okay. No? Once you've determined your path of insertion and removal, no, you've determined, accepted na ang path ng removal mo, the chosen tilt or the chosen path of insertion, no, can be recorded. Nare-record naman yan. And this is para you can return back your cast exactly where the position. Kasi dapat ano yan kung ano, how the cast was surveyed, kung ano yung position ng cast during surveyed, dapat bina-blackout yan at same tilt. Hindi pwedeng nakatilt ka tapos isa-survey sa 0. Dapat kung ano yung tilt mo, no, ano yung tilt during survey, that's the tilt kapag sin-survey, pag bina-blackout. So normally, hindi dapat tinatanggal ang cast from the surveyor until after blackout. And then, to record, no, para it's easy for you to return it back, tina-tripod. Tripoding is it's recording the chosen path of insertion and removal. Kaya pinakamaganda ang 0 Kasi sa 0, you don't have to tripod. Kasi you can always return it back to 0. Hindi mo na siya kailangang i-tripod kung 0. You just make sure, di ba, that the occlusal table is parallel to the base or parallel to the floor. 0 na yan. So there is no need for you to tripod. Tripoding can be done inside the cast or outside the cast. If it's done on the inside or the lingual surface ng tooth, just make sure it does not interfere with the design of your case. Kaya ako, mas gusto kong nagta-tripod outside kesa sa loob. So, tripod is to put 3 marks on separate position. You place separated marks on the cast, 3 different position without without changing, di ba? Without changing the tilt, without changing the surveyor, the arm of the surveyor, put similar marks No? Para pag tilt ka ulit, hindi mo na titignan yung 4 factors. Titignan mo na lang yung marks. Mas madali kung naka-tripod. Okay, question about survey. And ideally, don't place your class without survey. Kasi it's the survey which will determine what is the most acceptable class to use for your particular case. May tanong po ba? Hello po. Are we good? Okay na tayo? So any questions?